omnichannel retailers' challenges for inventory management vary by the type of retail vertical you are in. If you are a, say if you're a grocer, you like a BJ's Wholesale, a Kroger, Albertsons, HEB, you are primarily concerned with, knowing what's on their shelf because store fulfillment is your lifeline. You need to be able to serve customers same day, pick up same day delivery, etc. And not just knowing what is in shelf right now, but also predicting what's going to be on the shelf at 7 a.m. tomorrow when the store associate is picking something for a customer, right? Plus, you're dealing with fresh, with expiration dates, you're dealing with perishability. All of that becomes a challenge. Whereas you go to fashion apparel, you're dealing with seasonality. You need to be able to know what your velocity is, what's your days of inventory is, how do you move out of stock, out of season items out, bring something in. So you're worried about markdowns. If you're a company like a Best Buy or a Lowe's who leaned heavily into store fulfillment, you also need to know, how quickly can I find an item within a store, not just is it in stock, but findability becomes a critical factor here. So I think depending on the vertical, there are varied challenges, and we'll get into it, really quickly. So Ron, do we have the results?
Yes, we do. Let me go ahead and end the poll.
All right.
Can you see the results? Share the results. Here we go. Can you see?
Yes, we can see it. All right. Based on the poll, lack of ability to intelligently promise and fulfill inventory profitability was the top choice. Right after that, lack of real-time visibility across the network. Jordan, just please help us here with what you have seen from your retail survey.
Yeah, so interesting to see the poll and lines up somewhat with our results. The acceleration of omnichannel creates a lot of challenges. We've just talked about a lot of those. Getting that insight into inventory. In fact, Scott just mentioned something can be in someone's cart. Somebody's ordering it online. If you don't really have good insight or at least a little bit of safety stock there, you may be promising them something that's been picked up but not even exited the store yet. There are just so many variables in the equation, and it's just become difficult to balance customer service with profitability. It brings a whole new host of challenges from an inventory standpoint to meet those rising expectations, knowing where that inventory is when you're browsing and giving that insight to the customer. If you are going to do that, you need to have that visibility yourself. Based on what we see here, the top challenge is a lack of visibility and insight. And we hear this over and over into supply chains and stores inventory. So if retailers are in the dark, they're going to hit trouble. They're going to have inaccurate and unavailable inventory. It's going to get further compounded with big disruptions. We've certainly seen a lot of those in recent years. The pandemic, terrorist attacks currently on cargo ships in the Red Sea make everything even worse. So you're talking about retailers winding up with shortages of some products and overstocks of others, high levels of waste and efficiency. Some other big pain points here, a lack of ability to forecast allocation demand, so getting that inventory in the best possible place from the start. A lack of intelligent promising and fulfilling capability, which means retailers are making costly decisions they could avoid if they had a pure profitability standpoint, if they understood the true costs in advance of making a decision. And then you were talking about this inventory siloed by channel. That's a real recipe for markdowns and lost sales. You might be overstocked in one channel, out of stock in another. If you don't have that visibility to use your inventory where it's wanted and needed, that's a real loss. And too many nil picks. That was kind of low on the poll we just did, but definitely a problem for retailers. It not only creates a delay or disappointment for the consumer, but it's a major opportunity cost when you consider the labor that went around looking for something that wasn't there, and the opportunity to sell something different to the consumer.
Absolutely. If you knew that something is out of stock, you don't have to go looking for it, and that avoids a bouncing of an order from one store to another. All of that comes along with it. The really interesting stat here is 45% of retailers are still struggling with having a real-time view of inventory across their network. That seems like a high number, but for some of us who've been close to retail, for many years, we know that many retailers, many enterprises struggle with creating a single source of truth for inventory. And I want to go to Scott for a second here. Scott, you've seen this up close. Why is having an accurate view of inventory so challenging?
I think a few words on there. I'll say anything here that people don't already know or are experiencing, but just good to get it out there as we progress and think about, well, what's really needed to solve the problem. The expectations, as we said, are very high. So that creates the need, is that the customer accepts this, and as a company delivers it, could be Amazon, Walmart, the bigger companies, then it just becomes an expectation for everyone else. And the engineering of solutions for these is complicated, and that puts challenges on smaller companies that have to invest in the tech. So I think that the customer expectations are there. What makes it difficult, I think, are one, the internet scale, particularly for retailers, as you get around holiday. That it's different when you're just talking stores. You have 10 checkout lanes or whatever. You're really going through at a pace that's throttled because you've only got so many checkout lanes. But the internet, there's no throttle. The only throttle is, what you design and whether you design it well enough to handle the demand. So, that internet scale creates challenges, and then just complexity of the business model. You've got, stores and internet, probably multiple distribution centers, and different fulfillment methods, and orders are in different states. It's in process, or it's picked and on a shelf at a store, but nobody's picked it up yet. It's in the process of being picked at a store or a DC. All of this, and then finally, I'd say, for most companies that if they've been around for a while, you're dealing with systems for many of us that were built back during that time frame that I talked about, when you didn't have to deal with all.
Right.
So you got to evolve those systems. And it takes time to do it because the tech is changing and the customer expectations are changing. As soon as
you got to keep the business running.
Yeah, as soon as you land on a plan, it seems like the rules change.
Yeah, great, awesome. Justin, do you want to add any thoughts here?
No, that's spot on. With the pain points that we see here on this slide, and Scott, coming from a retail perspective and my background in retail as well, right? Those are critical challenges, and from an AWS side, as we work backward with customers, we're trying to address some of these key major pain points. I guess some of the challenges that are kind of creating some of that, from my standpoint, it's a couple perspectives. One is basic, just data, and having like the right accuracy of your inventory, even at a baseline level, right? So ensuring that the items that are coming into your warehouse or going into the back of store and in the store itself, like, do you even have that accurate, right? So set the foundation of the data, the processes, and that information to understand where am I at today, because that's a key foundation of that. I can't demand forecast, or I can't provide the right experience to consumers and the right product if I don't even have that right accuracy from the beginning. So that's kind of a key aspect there. And then the next one is as you think about kind of your data platforms and the connectivity and integration of those, to be able to converge all that together. And a key challenge of that is sometimes the kind of the legacy monolithic systems and platforms that are out there today, which kind of has duct tape and chicken wire brittle integrations that connect that visibility of what is my e-commerce inventory, what's my physical store. The premise of this webinar around composability, right? And the evolution that's happening there, the more that I can compose and standardize my platforms and commerce in a singular way, really helps to unlock a bit of that better visibility and connectivity there. So really it's about the data. How am I leveraging the data? And am I set up with my infrastructure and architecture in a way that allows me to address these pain points? So looking at it from that standpoint, allows, I think, retailers to be a bit more strategic as far as the evolution I can take to drive that true omnichannel inventory and consumer experience.
Right. So I think what we're saying is that as the problems have grown, the expectations have changed, so has the technology. There is technology available out there that can be harnessed to solve these problems. But also equally important is data as well as the processes to make sure that you have a clean view of inventory.